Human history rarely remembers the quiet people. It remembers inventors, conquerors, leaders, and disasters, but not the normal ones who lived between the pages. Yet it is strange how often fate chooses those very people to shape the future. That truth became clear the day a single human mechanic forced the entire galaxy to kneel. His name was Rion Ward, a ship technician from Old Mars Fleet Dock 7. Not a soldier, not an officer, not a hero. He was the person who tightened bolts on starship engines and patched radiation burns on worn-out hulls. He liked silence, old music, and the smell of coolant more than he liked people. He had lived 32 years without doing a single important thing. And then one afternoon, he found himself standing alone on a battlefield made of stars. It began 3 months after the disappearance of Earth. One moment, the blue planet existed. The next, it folded into a perfect sphere of white light and vanished. No explosion, no debris, just absence. Billions gone. The solar system cracked into panic. Mars went into lockdown. The colony screamed questions no scientist could answer. And in that chaos, the galaxy outside took note not with sympathy, but with fear. Humanity was a species that had survived plagues, nuclear winters, underwater volcanoes, and things other species didn't even have names for. If something strong enough to erase humans existed, then surely no other race stood a chance. The great empires began moving armies. Some prepared defenses, some prepared to run. But the most dangerous one, the Zodal Imperium, chose a different path. They launched a plan to seize every remaining human in the galaxy, both to interrogate them and to use them as shields if the unknown Earthkiller attacked again. Rion had been finishing a long maintenance shift when alarms shook Dock 7. A transport ship exploded outside the observation window, scattering metal into silent glitter. Dark triangular cruisers descended like blades falling through water. The station commander screamed evacuation orders. Lights flickered as thousands ran. Rion didn't run. He didn't freeze either. He simply stood still, staring, confused at how the world had changed in a single breath. Then 3 soldiers dragged him forward, shouting that humans were targets and they had to hide him. They never got far. A Zodal boarding party stormed the corridor. Blue blasts tore through metal. The guards protecting Rion fell instantly. He stumbled backward and slipped into an engine bay. He locked the door and hid behind a stack of fuel coils, with a wrench in his shaking hand. The station trembled under heavy fire, and for a moment Rion thought he might die, crouched in the darkness with the tools he hated and loved. But death didn't come. Instead, the door hissed open with a slow screech. A Zodal warrior stepped inside, armor black as mineral glass, towering height, 6 long spider-like limbs, 2 of which carried weapons that hummed with cold energy. Its eyes glowed dull white, scanning. When its gaze passed over the hiding spot, Rion's heart stopped. He didn't have a plan. He didn't have courage. All he had was instinct, and instincts, he would later learn, were the human advantage no alien could match. When the creature walked past the coils, Rion lunged. He grabbed a fire suppression pipe and swung it wildly. It smashed against the Zotel's mask, shattering it. The creature shrieked. Rion hit again and again, not with strength, but with something humans are born. Karinga, refusal to die politely. The Zotel collapsed. Rion stood, panting in shock, staring at what he had done. It should have ended there. But the galaxy was listening. The battle outside the bay ended with the Zodo capturing the station. Survivors were rounded up, including Rion, who was dragged in chains onto a black prison ship. The soldiers' whisper clicked in their language as they scanned him. He didn't understand the words, but he recognized one thing. Fear. The Zodal Imperium, a species that had conquered 5-star systems and slaughtered worlds, feared humans, not their numbers, not their weapons, their unpredictability. Humans fought like cornered animals. Humans survived injuries that killed others. Humans adapted faster than any species on record. And worst of all, humans invented. Constantly. Recklessly. Creatively. It made them dangerous. But Rion did not feel dangerous, he felt alone. Days later, the prison ship rendezvoused with the full Zotal fleet 200 war cruisers, surrounding a single floating fortress called the Inversion Throne. Their Emperor Zethernol prepared to announce the fate of humanity. The prisoners were marched into a massive hall lit by green flames. Rion had seen images of Zotal royalty before, but none matched reality. Zethernol sat atop a throne of folded bones, literal bones from conquered species, fused with metal filaments that pulsed like veins. His voice carried across the hall like rust scraping steel. Humanity is broken, their world erased, their colonies scattered. We will claim what remains. The prisoners trembled. Rion felt sick. The Emperor continued. Before us stands a captured group of the remnant species. They will reveal their secrets. They will show us how they survived 1,000 near extinctions. And once we learn what the Earthkiller sword, we will prepare. A scientist stepped forward with an injector filled with something that glowed red. Begin the extraction. For 6 seconds, the room plunged into darkness. 6 seconds in which 4 prisoners grabbed guard weapons. 6 seconds in which Rion, without knowing how or why, started a rebellion on the galaxy's most feared warship. When emergency lights returned, chaos erupted. Humans fought like drowning creatures clawing toward air. Zethernol screamed commands. But something extraordinary happened. Something that changed galactic history. The Zotel hesitated. Even with numbers, armor, and weapons, they hesitated to engage humans at close range. The legends of Terran brutality, exaggerated, passed through generations said, carved fear, deeper than logic. That fear cost them dearly. Rion grabbed a plasma staff and swung it at the throne's control pillar, cracking it open. Energy rippled through the ship. Doors malfunctioned. Navigation systems blinked. The throne's gravitational stabilizers overloaded. Everything tilted. The Emperor fell sideways, roaring. Rion never meant to kill him. He never meant to do anything monumental. He was simply trying not to die. But history does not ask for intent. The throne room curved violently as gravity The Emperor slid, struggling to rise. Rion stood between him and the main stabilizer. Core a massive glass. Cylinder glowing white, holding the ship's artificial gravity field. Zethernol lunged with a blade. Rion reacted. He smashed the plasma staff into the stabilizer. A column of blinding light burst outward. The Emperor's body slammed against the metal floor. The shockwave traveled through every deck of the fortress. Systems collapsed. Engines died. A ship the size of a city began sinking into the void of space. The Zotal fleet panicked as their flagship symbol of their unstoppable rule fell dark. Command structure shattered. Coordination broke. War cruisers drifted out of formation. Human prisoners, now armed, rioted across corridors. By the time the fortress crashed into a nearby moon's surface, the galaxy had witnessed something it never expected. One human mechanic, bringing down the greatest empire's flagship in a single hour. When the dust settled, Rion crawled from the wreckage, burned, exhausted, bleeding. He expected death. Instead, he found cameras, hundreds of them, belonging to neutral factions, rebels, traitors, and rival powers who had followed the battle from afar. They had seen everything. Broadcasts spread across the galaxy faster than any fleet could travel. Every species, from the frail Lurian shepherds to the towering Vroxian titans, watched a replay of Rion Ward standing alone in a fractured throne room, facing an Empire king. The galaxy named him the Terran Catalyst, a symbol, a banner, a warning. The Zotal Imperium schemed, leaderless Coyote sent scouts to eliminate him. But they were too late. Old Mars, fractured but not broken, declared Rion under its protection. Other human colonies joined. Even alien groups oppressed by the Zotal offered their fleets. For the first time in history, the galaxy united around a human, not in fear, but in hope. Rion didn't want fame. He didn't want war. He wanted tools, coffee, and a quiet dock to fix ships. But the galaxy didn't care what he wanted. It cared what he represented. The ability of a single, stubborn, ordinary human to defy impossible odds. That human nature chaotic, adaptable, creative, reckless terrified empires. And now it inspired rebels. Wheaton Mons, the United Coalition, formed a new defense treaty, led by humans, and supported by dozens of species. They pushed back the Zodal fleet star by star. Rion stood at strategic briefings, with admirals and kings, still wearing his old mechanic jacket because uniforms felt strange. He contributed not with tactics, but with questions no one else asked. Questions like, why not take apart their engines instead of fighting their soldiers? Or what if we overload their coolant lines through a hacked station? Humans were good at solving problems sideways, in messy, unpredictable ways. Aliens watched in awe. Across battlefields, Zotal soldiers whispered in fear about the Terran Catalysta human who shattered the Emperor's throne. Some surrendered at the sight of human flags alone. War ended not with a final battle, but with the Zodal kneeling and signing a surrender treaty. Rion was there when the new Emperor, trembling, placed his blade on the ground before him. You are the proof, the Emperor said quietly, that humans are the most dangerous species alive. Rion didn't smile. He didn't enjoy a victory. He simply said, humans don't want to rule the galaxy. We just don't like being hunted. Peace followed. Not perfect peace galaxies. Never get that. But better than what came before. Humans earned respect, not through conquest, but through raw survival and impossible resilience. They rebuilt Earth from archives. Colonies thrived. The galaxy shifted into a new age. And Rion, he returned to what he loved. He opened a small repair shop on a neutral trade station. Captain Livolidas visited him for guidance. Admirals stopped by for coffee. Traders brought him exotic tools. Children pointed at him like he was a legend. But he never stopped being the same quiet mechanic who enjoyed fixing things in peace. He just happened to be the mechanic who saved the galaxy. And that, in the end, was the most human thing of all.